He's Brent Musburger, the legendary broadcaster, almost 50 years in broadcasting, and now venturing out on his own, the lead broadcaster, managing editor at Vegas Stats and Information Network. Brent, good to talk to you again.
Hi, Dan. How have you been, my friend?
I'm doing great. How you feeling?
Feeling terrific. What a weekend we've got in college football. Let me just give you one stat, Dan. For the last 4 weeks, here at the South Point Sportsbook, and I'm sure some of the other books around the city of Las Vegas, college football has attracted more gambling dollars than the National Football League. And this week is going to be one of the biggest of the year. 3 top 10 matchups. Can't wait to get started.
What's easier to pick, college or pro?
College football. Not even close. College football.
Just because there's more games?
Well, that would be one thing, obviously, and you can find some mismatches, Dan, that you cannot, even against the point spread. The National Football League, I've got a couple of entries in the big contest over the Westgate Superbook. You buy it for $1,500. You pick 5 games a week on Wednesday against a static line that doesn't change. One of the entries that I have, he's into underwater, not even at 500. The other one is in the top 400 and is about 6 games out of the lead right now and doing very well. And full disclosure, I'm not the offensive coordinator of that one. I'm the one that's underwater. So it is very difficult picking winners against the spread of the National Football League. Great. Listen, I hope the Supreme Court in December, after the hearing, allows the state of New Jersey states' rights. Why should Nevada be the only state that allows single-game sports wagering? I hope the Supreme Court realizes that. I expect them to overturn the lower court's decision, and then I expect about 20 other states to join in. We have too much money going offshore where it is not regulated. What I found out here in Las Vegas is that sports wagering is regulated, is looked upon every day by the powers that be, and that's what it should be. We shouldn't have these billions of dollars flowing offshore to an unregulated betting market. This has to change.
Can you see a scenario, Brent, where you can go to a stadium and at the stadium you can place a bet? That there's a room there that you can have a credit card on file, that you have to be 21 years of age, show an ID, but you could go in and have a betting lounge at all these stadiums. Do you see a scenario like that?
Down the road, perhaps they've got similarities over in the UK. You can go into their stadiums and bet the Premier League. The one thing that I would argue against strenuously is do not accept credit cards. They do not accept credit cards here in Las Vegas. When you go up to make a sports bet, or if you're wiring in $500,000, as they did prior to the big fight out here between McGregor and Mayweather, it's cash.
Okay.
You pay up in cash when you make a bet, and they pay you back out in cash. No credit cards. We don't want to go in that direction. But otherwise, yes, your scenario, because right now you can go to, let's say, an NBA game right now, or even an NFL game. You go in with your digital phone. You can make a bet right now offshore with that unregulated market. Here in Las Vegas, you can make a bet and go over and watch the Vegas Golden Knights play in the National Hockey League. I tested it out one night when I was over there watching the game, and I could have bet during the game a different over-under. So the digital world is not going away. And those who argue morally or corruption, or we've got to protect the integrity, the ship has sailed. The digital world has changed the universe for better or for worse. I don't want to get into that debate, but it's not going back. You're not putting the genie back in the bottle.
We're talking to Brent Musburger, who called the 1988 Miami Notre Dame game that became known as Catholics versus Convicts. What do you remember about going into that game?
It was unbelievable, Dan. The environment around South Bend. You know, the one real regret that I have is when NBC, God bless them, they took control of the Notre Dame home games, and I wasn't able to go back in after that to do it. It's one of the great settings, and this one was special. You have to remember, and this was another game I did with Ara Parsigan at the booth, Jimmy Johnson and the Canes trampled Jerry Faust down in Miami in his final game as head coach. Now, let's be perfectly honest. Faust, who had done a great job at Massillon High School in Ohio, was in over his head as the head coach, but he was such a wonderful man. He was so great to be around. He loved children, loved him to death, and the Canes pounded on him, and they never let up. They'd have put 100 up if they could have. Believe me. I know Jimmy Johnson likes to go around and say, "Oh, it was a terrible team. They brought it down themselves." Blah 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 blah. Nonsense. That Kane team wanted to bury Notre Dame that particular day, and at some point in the fourth quarter, in a quiet, distinguished way, Ira Parsigan, as my analyst said, I would have thought that Coach Johnson would have shown more compassion. Yeah. Well, there was a great writer down in Miami at the Herald, Edwin Pope, and he unloaded on Parsigan at Notre Dame. Went to the front page of the Miami Herald, and game on. Lou Holtz then came in. Aaron and I did a game up with Minnesota. Holtz was the coach of Minnesota. It was the only time in his life that Aaron ever asked me to please stay out of the room, but I knew what was going on. Aaron was talking to Holtz about coming to South Bend. Then the good fathers allow Holtz to go out and get some hurricane-type football players. Get them in there, okay? So we go to the stadium that day in South Bend, and this youngster walks up to me and hands me the T-shirt. Catholics versus the Convicts. I've still got it in some storage box up in Montana, Dan. I'll never forget it. I go in. We're all set. We're getting ready to do the game. You know, we got a prepackaged, just a prepackaged. And then I hear there's a fist fight in the tunnel. Yeah. We got to throw everything out. So it starts. Ishmael was directly involved in whatever happened in that tunnel, but they've changed the procedure for allowing visiting players and home players to come out of that signal tunnel in South Bend ever since. And it was a great day. It was a great football game, okay? And it came down to Cleveland Gary lunging to get a first down around the goal line, and he didn't get it. To this day, it's the only time that Jimmy Johnson will get mad at me when he sees me, because Pat Hayden and I both said he didn't have the first down, and it was Notre Dame football. And then in the end, it came down to a 2-point conversion. It was knocked down. It was, you know, it's funny. Not every game do I remember, obviously, but this is certainly one that still resonates. But make no mistake about this. This was not a bunch of privileged children at Notre Dame. These were very, very good football players, and they could slug it out with anybody, and they did that day against a very talented Miami team. Jimmy Johnson's run down in Miami was remarkable. The Blades brothers and Irvin and all those guys, Testaverde, all of those guys, love being around them. I don't think that this is quite Catholics versus the Convicts, too. I know because of that game. I think it's a little bit different. Yeah. You know, Mark Richt is not the same style as Jimmy Johnson. Brian Kelly's got fire in his belly. He's a little bit like Lou Holtz. We've seen him lose it on the sideline. It's going to be a heck of a football game. This is the first time. This is the first Saturday of this year that I'm missing not being in the arena. That's a game I would love to call.
Did Miami create swagger in college football? That team, that era?
It.
Oh, they enhanced
it. There's no question about it. They would come into the arena the day before. They would dance around the logo at midfield. They would taunt the other team. My favorite of all time. They go into Florida State. They go into Tallahassee, okay? And here's Michael Irvin, and Benny Blades, the big tough guys. Now, Florida State had football players too, you know? So Benny and Michael decided, by God, that horse, Osceola, he's not coming out. The Chief's not coming out on Renegade, and he's not throwing that damn flaming spear down the back. That's not happening. I'll watch. We're going to stop that horse. There were about 20 of the Canes out there at midfield. And so here came Renegade at a full gallop. I got to tell you, he hits about the 35 or 40-yard line. You never saw Cane players move so fast in their life. Okay? The Chief got right to middle field. Bang! Down came the flaming sword. Yeah, I love being around those Cane teams. And also, they played in an arena where there was a home field advantage. That's the old Orange Bowl down in the heart of Miami. That was a great, great setting. Hard Rock will not be quite the same. It was noisy last week for the Virginia Tech game. They got a roof over to keep more of the noise in there now. And the Canes, listen, their best game of the year was last week against Virginia Tech. They held that Virginia Tech team to 10 points, Dan. But I'm going to remind everybody this week, and Vince Lombardi, old guy like me, we love Vince Lombardi. What do we like? The power sweep. It is back with Notre Dame. They run it in a different direction, okay? They run it more to the left because their left tackle is a top 5 NFL draft choice. He seals up that edge against their edge rusher. Then they bring these two powerful guards through, and they create this angles for the running game. It's going to be a treat to watch. I know that ABC is going to have isolations on these pulling guards. It is magnificent. It's a throwback. It's old school. Miami, to win this game, has got to stop the power sweep Otherwise, they have no chance whatsoever. This is the best rushing attack that I have seen this year. Notre Dame averages an unbelievable 330 yards a game running the ball, Dan. It's going to come down to that.
Will you ever call another game?
You never say never. However, I'm very happy here at VSiN. I love talking about all the games. You know, I can now talk more about the NBA. I wasn't covering the NBA over at ESPN. I can talk about the National Football League and my days with Jimmy the Greek. You know, we're trying to give information to help people. We know that there's hundreds of thousands of people who like to bet on games. We don't sell picks. You'd probably go broke if you'd pay me a nickel for one of my picks. But we like to give out information, try to help people along the way. I love a lot of folks out here in Las Vegas. I've known them forever. The bookmakers are great. John Ofello down at the Wynn, knowing him for a long, Chuck Esposito at the stations. All these guys are buddies. So I love being out here, but I never, ever say never.
We miss you, Brent. Great to talk to you. Hope you're having fun. Certainly sounds like that. But thanks for joining us.
You got it. Take care. Have a great weekend. Thanks, Dan.
That's Brent Musburger, the Vegas Stats and Information Network. Also, My Guys in the Desert, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific weekdays. Point Spread Saturday and Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. Pacific on Sirius XM 204.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.